Kyle was a talented swordsman who became a hero and defeated the Demon King. But in the process, he lost everyone he ever cared about. But when a mysterious crystal sends him 4 years into the past, he trains to become the strongest so that he can rewrite his fate. On the continent of Lunders, 2 opposing forces live. On the right, there are the species blessed by the god of light that include humans, dwarves, and elves, and on the left, there are demons, who are blessed by the god of darkness. These 2 forces have always fought each other for thousands of years, but 300 years ago, a rather peaceful demon king took the throne and stopped all aggression towards the humanoids. Humans and other species grew used to this temporary peace, and they were not ready for things to change. In the 5th month of 2826, a new demon king took the throne, and under his command, the demon army launched an all-out attack on the humanoids, which would later be called the Great Invasion. The ruthless invasion destroyed many humanoid kingdoms quickly, and even the largest empire could not protect itself. As the situation grew even more hopeless, the humanoids decided to take a desperate measure by pooling their remaining forces and engaging the demons in an all-out war. While the army fought against the demon army and his generals, a group of their strongest warriors were sent to infiltrate the Demon King's castle and assassinate him. Kyle is the leader of the assassination team that includes his best friend Theron and the elf mage Urza. As they are running through a hallway, an explosion suddenly separates them and kills the random soldiers going with them. Theron gets injured from the explosion, but as he sees 2 demons standing guard in front of a chained female demon, he realizes that he should keep them busy for the sake of their mission. He tells Kyle and Urza to go ahead because he will catch up with them after he is finished here, and Kyle knows that his friend plans to sacrifice his life to stop the 2 demons. While Theron fights the 2 demons alone, Kyle and Urza reach the throne room. Kyle gulps up some super concentrated roid juice so that he can fight at full potential, and Urza looks sad because she knows that he is going to lose his life because of the side effects of the medicine after its effects end. Kyle then opens the door to the throne room and finds a glowing gemstone in the middle. He is curious about it, so he decides to check it out, when suddenly Urza warns him that an attack is coming from above. Kyle manages to block some of the dark orbs with his sword, but he gets hit by the rest of them, forcing him to his knees. Next, a bigger and more menacing orb comes towards him while he can't move, but Urza steps up to defend him. She uses a magic barrier to protect themselves, but the orb penetrates it and starts consuming her. Urza just smiles at Kyle one last time before she is erased from existence, and just then, the Demon King descends from the ceiling. Kyle gets up to face him, turning his rage into power, and he charges ahead, slashing the dark orbs sent by the Demon King. However, he can't do any damage because the Demon King is protected by a dense layer of mana. Kyle is forced to step back because of the Demon King's ruthless attack, and he hides behind a pillar. The Demon King simply uses the Void Orb to eat away the pillar itself, leaving Kyle no place to hide. He is pushed back and severely injured by the dark orbs, and then he asks the AI chatbot in his sword's magic stone about the strange attack earlier. The upgraded version of Alexa tells him that it was an unblockable high-tier magic that destroys everything it touches. Kyle realizes that he can't win unless he is ready to throw away his life, and he tells Alexa to release the power of the gemstone. Alexa obeys his command, and the power of the gemstone covers Kyle in a bright aura that automatically repels all attacks from the Demon King. He dashes ahead at full speed, shattering the Demon King's blade and stabbing him through the chest. But the Demon King counterattacks and deals a fatal wound to him too. Kyle just keeps pushing forward till the magic stone and his sword shatter. But that was enough to destroy the Demon King, who explodes into a bunch of black feathers. Kyle thinks that it is finally over, and now he can die in peace. He thinks about how everything he ever wanted to protect is now gone, including his family, his friends, and even the girl he loved. He falls to the ground, but then a dark feather falls next to him and vanishes, and the very next moment, the magic gemstone starts glowing. Kyle gets up and realizes that if the crystal goes out of control, the results can be disastrous. He gets up and walks towards it, stumbling at each step. He grabs the magic crystal, and suddenly, a magic circle appears around him. When Kyle opens his eyes next, he finds that he is in his room and his town is still unharmed. He starts crying, thinking that this is a dream before he goes to the afterlife. But then his childhood friend Lise comes to his room to wake him up. She gets concerned when she sees Kyle crying, but he can't control his emotions on seeing her again. He hugs her tightly, and Lise, the dispo bitch, turns red from embarrassment. Kyle doesn't know that she is real, so his hands go a bit too far south, and then he loses his balance, ending on top of Lise while she is lying on the bed. That is too much for her to handle, so she throws Kyle back and then hits him with a rib-shattering punch that leaves him gasping for air. She screams at him to at least buy her dinner before getting to second base and then runs away from the room. Only then does Kyle notice that he can feel pain, which means this is not a dream. He then suddenly notices that the red crystal from the Demon King's castle is still with him, and he wonders what is happening. He finds that he looks young and has not suffered any injuries yet, which confuses him further, but then he begins suspecting that he might have returned to the past. He immediately shoots down the idea because time travel is impossible or someone would have shown up at Stephen Hawking's party. Suddenly, he gets distracted from his thoughts because of his hunger, and he finds a lavish meal laid out for him. He knows that Lise cooked it because neither he nor his mom can cook, and he is glad to have her. Since he is eating delicious homemade food for the first time in years, he kinda overeats and finishes the whole thing, and when his best friend Theron arrives there, he freaks out. He asks Kyle if he is preparing to beat Luffy in an eating competition. He is disappointed because he wanted to eat the delicious-looking food too, and Kyle abruptly asks him about the date today. When he learns that it is the 5th month of the year 2823, Kyle freaks out because that means he has really returned to the past. Theron then reminds him that today is his birthday, and he will forgive him for eating all the food as his birthday gift for him. Theron decides to beg Lise to make him something to eat, and Kyle decides to get some answers from the most knowledgeable person he knows. He enters a storeroom next to his house and enters the basement, which has been turned into a library by his mother. As soon as Kyle sees her, he is reminded of the trauma he faced when he saw her dead body in the past, but snaps out of it when she speaks to him. Kyle tells his mom that he has a question related to magic, and since she is one of the handful of archmages in the entire country, almost no one knows more about magic than her. His mom gets happy on hearing this, and then Kyle gets to the point, asking if there are any spells to turn back time. She tells him that there are spells that can manipulate time, but they are practically impossible to use because of the enormous amount of mana they require. She says that even the greatest magician in history could not turn back time by 1 second, and Kyle asks if it would be possible if someone used a magic tool to store mana. His mom tells him that it is a nice idea, but gathering that amount of mana will take at least 1,000 years. Kyle asks what if someone uses the forbidden right to turn people's life force into magic power, and his mom thinks about it deeply, saying that it will be inefficient too. She believes that at least half of the continent's population needs to be sacrificed to generate that much mana, and on top of that, there is no magic tool that can store such a huge amount of mana. However, there is one exception. Kyle's mom pulls out a book and tells him about the heart of the legendary divine dragon that was once used by the ancient magic kingdom of Zarls to prosper. However, the power of the dragon's heart eventually ran out and the kingdom was destroyed because they could not cope with it. His mom tells him that the dragon's heart can store enough magic to travel back to time, but it went missing around 1,000 years ago when the ancient kingdom died out. She believes that demons might have found it already, and Kyle can't reveal that her theory is right. Later, Kyle goes to his favorite place to watch over his town, wondering why the Demon King was storing mana to return to the past. Just then, Lise arrives there, and she is still angry about the morning. Kyle falls on his knees and apologizes, saying that he only acted out because he had a really worrying dream this morning. Lise realizes that the dream involved her dying, and she decides to forgive Kyle because of that. She then wishes Kyle happy birthday, and he is immediately reminded of the invasion of the demon army that hit his hometown first because they live in the border region. The demons burnt their town to the ground, killing everyone, and that is how he lost Lise. He swore to get revenge for her, but this time, he decides to protect her and everyone else whom he loves. He declares that he will change his fate and the fate of the world, no matter what it takes. That night, he notes down all major events that are going to happen soon to help him prepare for the future, but he knows that it is not enough. He thinks that he can start his journey by resuming his training and heads to the woods to see his current skill level. The first thing he does is conjure up a mental image of the Demon King and tries fighting his memories of him. The Demon King turns out to be the imaginary friend Last Boss, and Kyle physically feels his attacks when he tries to deflect them with his sword. He can't keep up with the swift attacks of the Demon King because his body lacks practice, so he decides to buff himself up with magic to make up for it. He casts spells to increase his speed and agility, and finds that his spells are much more effective now. He doesn't think too hard about it and rushes straight towards the demon lord instead, who acts like a stormtrooper at first, missing all his shots, but then hits Kyle with an unpredictable headshot. Kyle falls to the ground, realizing that even with increased magic, his body can't keep up with skills and he needs to work hard if he wants to change the future. While he catches his breath on the ground, Lise and Theron watch him from behind the bushes, wondering what has gotten into him because just 3 days ago, he would have given up long ago. Just then, Theron's mom Layla arrives there, and after checking up with Lise and Theron, she asks what is the deal with Kyle because it seems he is training to fight some ridiculously fast and strong enemy. Lise replies that she is confused about that as well because just a couple days ago, Kyle was depressed and unmotivated, and Theron can confirm that. Layla says that if a guy suddenly gets a burst of motivation, the reason can only be a woman, and Lise is shocked to hear that. Seeing her so shocked and jealous makes Layla take her theory back, because if Kyle gets to second base with a woman, it has to be with Lise. Well, she doesn't understand that, and in her jealousy, she marches straight to Kyle and grabs his collar. She asks him who is the bitch he is messing around with as she begins shaking him violently. And in the end, Kyle throws up his breakfast that was mainly salad, judging from the color. Later, she makes delicious lunch to apologize for her sudden burst of jealousy, and everyone is glad for that. Now that they are all gathered in one place, Kyle decides to ask them who has enough influence to get the attention of multiple nations. Theron says that any king can do that, and Kyle's mom says that the highest-ranking priests of the Earth Goddess have great influence as well. Layla thinks for a bit longer and says that hero Randolph, who defeated the Demon King 300 years ago, is also quite respected, and all humanoid species will listen to him. Now that Kyle has gotten an answer about the most influential people on the continent, he realizes that he can't become a king or a high-ranking priest in 2 years, but he can become a hero, and then he can get humans to prepare for war. Later that night, Kyle is studying alone in his room when Theron comes there. He is surprised to see him surrounded by so many books, and asks him if he is sure about becoming a hero. Kyle says that he plans to work hard for it, and asks Theron if he has any ideas that can help. Theron just asks him to go and kill the Demon Lord, because then he is guaranteed to be called a hero. But Kyle reminds him that it is Loki the end goal. Theron then says that a hero needs strength to be recognized, but Kyle believes money is more important. He explains that a hero doesn't take rewards or money for helping people, but he still needs money to travel and maintain his equipment. Theron sees the point in his argument, and then Kyle tells him that the next thing a hero needs is connection with the rich and the powerful people. The third factor to be a hero is luck, and Kyle says that only people who are present at the right places at the right time get the chance to rise up and become a hero. He declares that he is ready to do anything to become a hero, and Theron says that it is not something a real hero would say. He feels that Kyle doesn't really want to become the hero, and instead, becoming the hero is just a stepping stone to some other goal. Kyle tells him that he is right, but he just asks Theron to trust him about them. Theron wishes him the best of luck, but Kyle plans to get him involved in his plans soon. He then resumes to work on his strategy to obtain money, connections, and luck. Soon, he tells Layla, who is also his teacher, that he is leaving on a journey. Layla tells him that it is a good idea and asks him to take her son along too. That was Kyle's plan all along, and as he thanks the muscle mommy for giving him the permission, Theron asks if no one is going to ask for his consent. Soon after that, Kyle tells Lise about his plan to leave on a journey to the capital and beyond. Before she can even say anything, Kyle makes it clear that he is not going to take her along no matter how much she pleads. She gets mad that he is taking Theron, and not her when she is also training and strong enough. Kyle tells her that bros before hoes, and then says that he wants her to stay in someplace safe because his journey is going to be dangerous. Lise is about to say something, but this time, Kyle quickly kisses her, leaving her completely speechless. He promises that when he returns, she will be the first person he wants to see. Lise can't say anything to that, and she just asks him to promise her that he will return home safe. After that, they head to the market to do some shopping before he goes away, and Lise notices a pretty elf in the distance. As soon as Kyle sees her side profile, he recognizes the elf named Urza and walks towards her, completely ignoring his girl. He reaches Urza and remembers how she was his main girl after he lost Lise in the past life. He remembers a scene from their private moments when she told him to call her using her real name when they are in private, but Kyle accidentally calls her by her real name excess in public. The elf girl, who normally goes by the name Urza, gets taken aback on hearing this because she is meeting Kyle for the first time. She is ready to draw out her weapon and Kyle panics on realizing what he just did. He grabs her hand to stop her and then uses a spell to put her to sleep because he knows her real name. She falls asleep in his arms, and as Kyle wonders how to explain things to her when she wakes up, he realizes that he has got bigger problems at hand. Lise is standing behind him, fuming with rage because she caught this moron cheating hours after they had their first kiss. He tries to explain things to her, but she is not ready to listen to anything and declares that she will come with him on the journey to make sure he doesn't hoe out while she is waiting for him. Anyway, Urza returns to her senses soon in Kyle's house, and she is almost ready to kill him. She asks how the hell does he know her real name because only she and her parents know it. Kyle can't tell her that she will tell the name to him herself 4 years from now when they fall in love, so he just promises to explain everything to her later. Urza is not satisfied with that, so Kyle suggests they can sign an application of contract that prevents him from using her true name for evil. Urza is shocked because normal humans don't know about that contract as well, and she asks Kyle if he is serious because if he breaks the contract, he will die. He tells her that he is serious and ready to form a contract right away, but she tells him that she can only form the contract on the night of the full moon, which is a few days away. She says that she will stay in this town till then, but Kyle stuns her by saying that he is leaving on a journey the next day. Urza has no choice but to go with him, so Lise also tags along to stop an elf from stealing her man. The next morning, as Kyle and his party are ready to leave, his mom gets emotional, and his dad is also there, but Kyle almost doesn't recognize his face because he is never around. With that, the four of them leave on their journey, and Kyle basically wears Urza down into accepting to join his party. He says that they will head for the capital later, because first, he wants to head to the Sunguard Mountains, which contain the legendary Magic Queen's dungeon. Theron says that it is just a legend, but Kyle pulls out a map of the dungeon, saying that the dungeon is real, and the map even points out the location of the treasure room. Both Theron and Lise start pitying him, thinking that someone scammed Kyle by selling him a fake map, and he gets why they are reacting like this. However, when Urza looks at the map and says that it is made from the bark of the world tree using a technology that went extinct 2,000 years ago, which means that this map is the real deal. Theron and Lise believe her immediately, annoying Kyle, but then they remark that the treasure room is too far and it will take a lot of time to reach it. Kyle tells them not to worry because he has got a plan, and his plan is just digging a tunnel to reach the treasure room faster. While Kyle and Theron do the digging, Urza becomes the taskmaster, ordering them to do things properly. As they take a break at night, Lise has already prepared dinner for them using the bear she killed using her bare hands. After a few days of digging, they are almost about to reach the treasure room, but on seeing Kyle alone, Urza decides to have a serious chat with him. She wants to know why he wants to become a hero so badly and if it is related to the reason he knows her true name. As Kyle wonders if he should tell her the truth, he hits the end of the wall and opens the way to the treasure room. This interrupts their conversation, and he tells Urza to call Theron and Lise immediately. They head into the treasure room together, and the pile of gold immediately turns Theron mad. As he jumps into the treasure and starts screaming like a madman, Kyle warns the girls to not turn out like him. Immediately after that, he decides to let everyone get busy with gold and runs off to a secret room where the real treasure lies, which is the sword he used in his past life. The sword appears in front of him in the form of a lowly spirit who praises him for clearing various challenges and reaching here safely, but Kyle just shuts her mouth, telling her that his friends will hear him. The lowly lashes out at him, telling him that he needs to buy her dinner before getting freaky. She asks if he even knows who she is, and he shuts her mouth again, saying he knows that she is a weapon created by the Magic Queen Sildonia, who ruled the Magic Kingdom of Zarls during its peak. He also knows that the sword contains a part of the Queen's knowledge and consciousness, and the sword spirit asks him how he can know all that. Kyle tells her that he will tell her everything soon, but right now, he needs to hurry and take on the final challenge. The lowly decides to play along and returns to the gemstone on the sword's hilt. Next, Kyle picks up the sword and suddenly, the lowly uses her abilities to gaze into his mind. She reads the memories of his past life, and immediately appears in her human form again, asking if that was all real. Kyle confirms that it was all real, and he has the heart of the divine dragon with him right now. The lowly Sildonia can't believe that time travel magic actually exists, but just then, Kyle's friends arrive there looking for him. He tells Sildonia to act along with him because he doesn't want his friends to know about the past yet, and she reluctantly agrees. Just as Lise and others arrive there, Kyle begins shouting about how he got a legendary intelligent sword named Sildonia, and soon, the lowly becomes part of the group as well. As she eats cookies baked by Lise, Sil answers the questions of Kyle's friends. She tells them that she is a part of the magic queen Sildonia, who left her inside the sword to judge people who came to claim her treasure. She then tells Kyle that if he had not been worthy of taking her treasure, she would have activated the final trap, destroying the dungeon and everyone inside it. However, she gives him the permission to use the sword for now. She also tells him to take the magic bag that connects to the treasure room so he can withdraw any amount he needs. After that, they head to the capital city, and Kyle says that now that they have money, they should buy some good quality gear for themselves, and immediately heads to the most famous weapon shop in the city. The receptionist coldly greets him and asks if he has any referral from their established customers, and Kyle suddenly remembers that this shop is a bit exclusive and new customers have to deposit money before going on. The receptionist tells him that the fee is 10,000 coins per person, and Kyle simply gives him 5 Zarl's coins to cover the fees for all his friends. The receptionist quickly leads the group inside, where the shop owner Fezba greets them. Sil immediately recognizes some weapons made by a famous smith during her rule, and starts yapping about how she knew the weaponsmith personally and he wasn't even that good. Kyle shuts her mouth, telling Fezba that the girl is really imaginative, and then they distract Sil with some snacks. Kyle goes to see the best armor that the shop has. Fezba tells him about the armor made from dragon leather and phoenix feathers, explaining how it is really expensive because of those raw materials, but Kyle decides to buy it without haggling. He tells his friends to buy whatever they need for the journey ahead, and soon Lise buys a set of gauntlets, while Urza buys an amulet with a spirit stone. Theron buys an armor as well, and then begins hitting at the receptionist, who runs away, thinking that he is a creep. After that, Kyle asks Fezba for some magic stones, and he shows him one that has explosion magic stored inside it. Kyle decides to take it, and then asks for a magic stone that will be more effective against reptile-like monsters. The shopkeeper brings out a blizzard magic stone, and Kyle says that he will take every piece of it he has in stock, along with every bottle of healing potion. Fezba's panic keeps increasing as Kyle keeps adding things to his cart, and seeing the full payment in front of him blows his mind away. Anyway, after the shopping spree, Theron is worried that nasty rumors about them might start, but Kyle tells him that they are going to leave the capital tomorrow, so the rumors don't matter. Theron panics on hearing that, and he immediately decides to hit the bars to pick some girls, while Lise and Urza decide to explore the city together. Sil also wants to eat all the snacks she can, but Kyle stops her to discuss something important in private. Once they reach a hotel room, Kyle asks her if the future can really be changed, and Sil gives him the theory about how he came to a different universe when he traveled to the past. She says that the future won't be exactly identical, but the big events will remain the same, like the Great Demonic Invasion 3 years from now. However, the future can be changed if they make an effort, and that is enough for Kyle. Suddenly, he realizes that since he came to this world with the Divine Dragon's heart, this universe's version of the same should still be with the Demon King. Sil hears his worries and says that she has a theory about that. She says that the most taboo forbidden spell fuses souls to increase magic power, and they tried researching it during her time, but they failed badly. She then asks Kyle to think about what happened to the soul of the Kyle of this world, because he obviously came from another world. He suddenly realizes that his soul fused with the soul of the Kyle of this world, and Sil tells him that he obtained the soul fusion that her empire's most genius researchers could not achieve. Kyle remembers that his magic power had greatly increased earlier, and now everything makes sense to him. He asks Sil if there are any side effects of the soul fusion, and she tells him that it has never been done before, so no one knows about it. Later at night, Lise and Urza share a room, and Lise goes to bed first while the elf baddie bathes in moonlight and sips wine. She begins thinking about how this short trip went better than she expected, and her thoughts ultimately get stuck on Kyle. She catches herself smiling thinking about him, but then suddenly, she realizes that they had to do a special ceremony tonight because it is the night of the full moon. Meanwhile, Kyle is out in the woods, catching his breath after an intense training session. He begins talking with Syl about how awesome the sword is, and how other mithril swords he used doesn't stand a chance against it. Syl tells him that this sword is not made of mithril, but before she can elaborate, Urza comes there running. Kyle asks her why is she in such a hurry, and she reminds him that they have to do the application of contract on the full moon night so that she can protect her real name. Kyle also realizes that he forgot about it, and he says that they should do it another time because he is really tired right now. Urza, however, tells him that they can't delay the ritual by another month because her true name is at stake here. He reluctantly agrees, and then Urza begins drawing a complex magic circle on the ground. The ritual they are going to do is usually done when two elves get married, and they offer each other their true names while promising to be together for life. When she heard Kyle suggest it to her, her heart fluttered, and she still can't believe that she is going to undergo marriage rituals with someone she just met a month ago. Anyway, once she is done with the magic circle, she wakes Kyle up and tells him to get his inside the circle. Next, she activates the magic circle for the application of the contract, and Kyle remembers the last time they did it. Urza asks him if he swears to not share her real name or use it for evil, and Kyle affirms. She says that the contract is completed with this, but Kyle remembers that they kissed the last time, so he suddenly kisses her. Urza enjoys the moment for a full second before getting flustered. She pushes Kyle out, calling him a molester and asking how dare he kiss her. He tells her that he thought that they kissed to seal the deal, but Urza tells him that it is a wedding-only thing. Kyle nervously tells her that they should consider this just an unfortunate accident in that case, and Urza snaps, attacking him with fire magic. The next morning, Kyle and Urza are sleepy because of last night's incidents, and Theron is sleepy because he was trying to pick up girls all night long, but got shot down by all of them. Kyle ignores him and turns to Urza, asking if she is going to travel with them even after the application of contract is done. And she replies that she has no choice because he has not told her about how he learned true name yet. Kyle is glad to hear that, but then Lise snaps him out of his romantic delulu by asking why are they heading to the city of Archen. Kyle panics because he can't tell her the truth, so he says that Syl can vaguely guess the future, and she told him to head to Archen. Soon, they reach the city, and coincidentally, Princess Mylna of the Zergus Empire is also there on some official business. The people gather to see a glimpse of her, and Kyle and his friends also join the crowd. While Mylna wins everyone's hearts with her kindness and grace, Kyle's attention is fixed on her bodyguard Zentos, who was one of his close friends in the past life. Zentos also notices him staring at him, but he doesn't take any action on the spot. Meanwhile, Syl asks Kyle if this is the princess he talked about earlier, and he affirms, saying that Princess Mylna is going to die 2 days from now. Later, they head to their room where Kyle tells Syl that Mylna is here to pay her condolences to the villages attacked by the Hydra monster. But 2 days later, as she heads to a nearby village, her group will be attacked by the Hydra, killing her. While everyone will think that it was the misfortune of the kind princess, Kyle thinks that it is the result of Mylna's stupidity because she should not have gone to the place where a monster was attacking people. Syl says that it might be an assassination attempt too, and Kyle remembers that there were rumors that Mylna's half-brother, Prince Carinus, was behind the assassination attempt, but they were never proven. However, he is suspicious of the prince because he is in the city right now. But he doesn't show his face to anyone because he is a loser who doesn't leave his room just like you all. Well, Kyle doesn't care about the reasons, because the only thing he wants is to save the princess and be recognized as a hero right from the start of his career. Kyle says that if he wants to be recognized as a hero, he needs to make it really natural and organic when he rushes to help her. Just then, Theron comes to the room, saying that he couldn't find out anything about Princess Mylna's schedule. Kyle asks him why was he looking into that in the first place, and the Dispo hopeless romantic replies that he wants to save the princess from danger and start sparks of romance between them. Kyle feels disappointed at himself because he had the same idea as his dimwit friend. Theron tells him to get in line because he called dibs on Mylna first, but Kyle assures him that he already has more bitches than he can handle. He reveals that Mylna is actually in danger and once again uses Syl's prophecy ability as his source. Theron completely believes him and declares that he will just keep following the princess around. He is quite confident in his abilities to stalk women, and Kyle hopes that this idiot doesn't mess up his plans. The next day, as Mylna's convoy leaves the town, Kyle and his friends eagerly watch her from the bushes. The girls wonder how they can follow the princess's convoy without being noticed to save her from the danger she is supposed to be in, and Syl tells them that she has got it covered. She immediately turns into a hawk, surprising everyone. She explains that she is just the gemstone in Kyle's sword, and her body is a projection made using magic, so she can easily alter her form. She then flies above Mylna's convoy, and Kyle and others can see whatever she is seeing through the gemstone on the sword. They all get distracted as they discuss how this ability can be used for every pervert's favorite activity. Syl tells them to pay attention to the footage because things have started getting dangerous in the convoy. The drivers have suddenly started attacking the guards, and Kyle realizes that he needs to join the fight now. By the time he reaches the convoy, the drivers have defeated all the guards and started a ritual to summon monsters. As soon as they see Kyle and his crew, they get ready to fight. But Kyle uses a skill to boost his speed and knocks them out before they can do anything. He then ties up the traitors so that they can be interrogated later. And in the meanwhile, Theron checks up on Mylna to find that she is alive but unconscious. Kyle asks him to stay with the princess and protect her when suddenly a hyena monster attacks him. He quickly slashes through it, but then a huge pack of hyenas surround the carriage. Kyle and the girls try their best to fend them off, but the hyenas attack the unconscious guards. Kyle asks Theron if he can drive the carriage to safety, but he finds that the reins have been cut and he will need to tie them up tightly. The situation already looks tense, but then the Hydra also starts approaching them. Kyle can predict that it will reach them soon based on its ground rumbling footsteps, and he tells his friends that their top priority is to keep the princess safe. He asks Theron and the girls to take Mylna away from the place while he stays behind to fight the Hydra. The girls don't like the idea, but Kyle assures them that he is not being reckless and he actually has a shot at beating the monster. Urza decides to trust him, and then Kyle runs off to face the Hydra. Syl asks him if he is sure he can defeat such a powerful monster alone, and Kyle says that it will depend on the number of heads because the more heads a Hydra has, the stronger it is. He is confident that he can down a Hydra with 3 heads, but when the monster comes in front of him, he forgets math, and the only thing he can tell is that it has more than 3 heads. Kyle Loki craps his pants on seeing the 8-headed Hydra, but it is too late to run now, and he decides to see things through. He easily dodges the straightforward attacks from the Hydra heads, but when the monster starts breathing poison, he shields himself with his robe. The poison immediately kills the plants nearby, but thanks to the high-quality armor, Kyle stays completely safe. He then takes out the Blizzard Magic Stone from his bag and yeets it at the Hydra, who stops moving because of the freezing cold. Next, he uses the Explosion Magic Stone to deal massive damage to the monster, creating an opening on its scaly body. Kyle then charges ahead to take advantage of the shallow wound and blocks another round of poison breath using his robe. He cuts off one head of the Hydra quickly, but that is as useful as all the sorry messages I sent to my ex last night because the head immediately regenerates. He still keeps fighting using the same stupid strategy of cutting the Hydra heads that grow out again without a problem, and then realizes that he has no Blizzard Stones left. Despite his continuous attacks, the Hydra doesn't seem even a little bit weaker, and Kyle decides to use his endgame strategy. He rushes towards the Hydra with his super speed skill while hiding an explosion stone in his hand. The Hydra isn't fast enough to react to him, and Kyle easily pierces through its chest. He widens the wound hole and then stuffs a bunch of activated explosion stones inside the Hydra's body right before he gets hit away. He somehow gets up despite taking a lot of damage, and the Hydra begins walking aggressively towards him. However, the explosion stones detonate all at once, blowing off the Hydra from 3 different angles like some Indian TV show. As a result of the powerful explosion, the Hydra's body is scattered all over the place, and Syl tells Kyle that he should have done it sooner to save up on some of his magic stones. Kyle replies that it was a last-ditch effort and he can't use this risky technique in combat all the time, but he is glad that he managed to beat such a powerful monster. On the other hand, Urza and others have also defeated the monsters, and they decide to support Kyle immediately. However, he returns there just then, telling them that the Hydra was a tough opponent, but it was not strong enough to beat him. The girls are happy to hear that, but the very next moment they clench their noses and tell Kyle that he stinks of burnt Hydra meat and he should take a bath before getting close to them. Kyle is disheartened by this because he was hoping that his girls would praise him more, but anyway, he takes a bath. In the meantime, Theron is still working on making the carriage usable, and the princess and her servants are still unconscious. Kyle thinks that they were poisoned, so he asks the girls to give them an antidote. Just then, Theron gives him a pouch that he found nearby, and Kyle realizes that it was used to summon the monsters, which means that this was an assassination attempt made to look like a monster attack. As it turns out, Prince Cairns was really behind the assassination attempt, and Mylna's bodyguard Zentos is working with him too. They receive the news of their failed attempt, and Zentos decides to send another squad to finish the job. Back in the forest, it is already evening when Mylna slowly comes to her senses, and she can't believe that she is still alive. Urza asks her to remain calm, and Mylna says that she never thought she would wake up again. She asks Kyle and his friends if they saved him, and Theron immediately swoops in to take all the credit. One sucker punch from Lys quickly knocks him out though, and then Kyle formally introduces himself to Mylna, saying that they are a group of traveling adventurers who spotted her convoy under attack and rushed to help her. Just then, her servant wakes up, and she immediately gets it between Mylna and Kyle, trying to save her from a stranger. Mylna assures her that Kyle and his friends saved them, so they can trust them. She then gets up to see the situation outside, and Kyle tells her that things are pretty ugly there. However, Mylna doesn't care, and once she steps on the battlefield, she is a completely different person. She begins inspecting the dead drivers, and Kyle tells her about how they were the ones who killed the guards by the time he arrived. Just then, Syl tells him that a squad of royal knights is heading towards them, and Kyle relays that information to Mylna. She panics on hearing that and says that they need to run away immediately, because if the royal knights find them, they will kill not only her but Kyle and his friends too. Kyle asks her why would the people from her own kingdom want to kill her, and she replies that the man who wants to kill her is Zentos. Kyle can't believe that Zentos would do something like this, but Mylna is confident in her statement. She then tells her maid Arca to burn all the bodies in the area so that the royal guards waste some time trying to locate her among them. She says that they need to buy as much time as they can to escape, and then tells her maid to drive the carriage. She asks Kyle and his group to come with her so that she can explain the situation, and Theron decides to throw the monster summoning pouch into the flame as well, thinking that a bunch of monsters will slow down the knights even more. Meanwhile, in the carriage, Kyle asks Mylna if Zentos, who is the commander of the 2nd Battalion of Royal Knights, is really the one trying to kill her. Mylna affirms that, and also says that Zentos is working with her half-brother Cairns. While Theron and Urza are shocked to hear about the family quarrel, Kyle still can't believe that Zentos would try to kill the princess. She tells him that she heard it directly from his mouth yesterday. She explains that she was given sleeping medicine in her drink, and when she was slowly falling asleep, she clearly saw Zentos and Cairns talking about how she would not wake up till the next evening, but by then, she would be inside a monster's stomach. Mylna always knew that her brother wanted to kill her, but she thought he was a pathetic wimp who couldn't do that. However, she never thought Zentos would join hands with him. She says that usually, her choice of guard is the 5th Battalion that is made up entirely of women, but they are often summoned to the capital because of how grand and elegant they look during ceremonies. That is why Zentos and his battalion became her guards for this trip. Kyle still finds it hard to believe that Zentos is now their enemy, and he tells Mylna that he must have already moved on to the next plan since the previous one failed. She agrees with him, and then Kyle remarks that if Zentos succeeds in killing her, he will blame his party for the murder, making them the villains of the story. He also realizes that Mylna shared all the details with them because that makes his party a threat to Zentos, so they can't leave her on her own now. Mylna is glad to see that he is smart enough to see through her plan, and says that they should do their best to survive together. She promises to reward them once they reach the capital safely, and Kyle replies that they don't need money or status, and just honor and fame will be enough to satisfy them. Mylna then moves on to the strategy, saying that they are at an advantage if they play the waiting game. The 5th Battalion is scheduled to arrive in the city of Archen the next day, and they will immediately come looking for her when they find that she is missing. They are equally strong as the 2nd Battalion led by Zentos, and if any commotion arises, it will harm Zentos more than them. Theron suggests that they hide in the nearby village till reinforcements arrive, but Kyle says that is a stupid idea. Zentos will probably burn the entire village down to kill them, and that will put more innocent people at risk without any chance of success. He suggests that they turn back and reach Archen, because it has thousands of people and their enemies can't kill all of them. Moreover, they will meet with the 5th Battalion faster this way, and together they can win against Zentos. Mylna says that they will run into the pursuers if they turn back now, and Kyle tells her that they will deal with them when they reach them. First, they stop to restock their supplies, and in the meantime, Kyle sends Syl on a recon mission. She finds that Zentos is not with the knights, and Kyle says that it makes things really easy for them. Mylna is surprised by the abilities of his intelligent sword, and then by the buttload of magic stones his party has. Just then, Lys gives her a box full of top-class healing potions, telling her to drink one if she gets injured, and Mylna is even more surprised. She asks who the hell are they exactly, and Kyle replies that they are a bunch of aspiring heroes. On the other hand, Cairns is throwing a tantrum because Zentos failed his mission to kill Mylna. Zentos, however, calmly assures him that he has sent his men to finish the job that the monsters couldn't do. Cairns tells him to go there and kill the princess personally, but Zentos reminds him that when the 5th Battalion comes to the city and finds Mylna missing, they will interrogate him, which he won't be able to handle. Cairns backs down on hearing that, and Zentos assures him that he won't fail in his mission this time. Back in the forest, the knights see Mylna's carriage coming towards them, and the vice captain tells his men to shoot the horses and make them stop. They get in position and take aim, when suddenly, a few magic stones drop from the sky right in front of them. The knights don't even realize what is going on until the explosions start, and Syl keeps dropping the magic stones from the sky. The vice captain tells everyone to return to the formation, but then Kyle drives the carriage right towards him. He rolls to the side to escape while telling his soldiers to fire at them, and on the carriage, Urza and Theron help Kyle clear the path. They manage to get through the knights without any difficulty, and once they reach the safe zone, they chug some healing potions, thanking God that they are filthy rich. Suddenly, their carriage stops with a jerk, and they get outside to find that driving it through the enemy lines was not as safe as they thought, and they have busted a wheel. With no way to repair it, they decide to walk ahead on foot, and Lys leads the princess and her assistants. Meanwhile, Kyle tells Urza that someone needs to stay behind and stop the knights from catching up with them. Otherwise, they will be cornered at the city gates. Urza tells him that it is dangerous, but Kyle replies that only 30 knights are left after their previous attacks, and they can handle it. She gets angry at him for thinking about risking his life again, but Kyle tells her that he isn't going to do it this time. He tells Theron to stall the royal knights, and he doesn't even fully process that before agreeing. Soon, Kyle tells Urza to cast a wind spell on them so that they can move faster, and only once they start running away does Theron realize that they are leaving him. He asks where they are going, and Kyle tells him to do his best. He panics when it realizes that he has been left behind for real, and soon the knights arrive there. However, instead of fighting them, Theron waves the white flag and surrenders. He begs them to spare his life, saying that it was not even his fault and everything was planned by Kyle. He offers to give them the money he has and even reveal the location of the dungeon where they found it, but the vice captain doesn't seem interested in it. His soldiers quickly find that the carriage is empty, and he decides to keep chasing the princess. As for Theron, he orders his soldiers to dispose of him. On hearing this, Theron suddenly clings to him, saying that he is willing to do anything, even giving a Gluck Gluck 2000 to all the knights here to save his life. But the vice captain gets angry and decides to finish him off himself. On the other hand, Urza is worried about Theron, and she believes that the knights will kill him. Kyle says that he would have also preferred it if no one died, and Urza can't believe that he is saying it seriously. However, Lys suddenly realizes that they haven't told her Theron is actually the strongest one among them. Back with the knights, a man has died, as it sure as hell ain't Theron. Instead, he has killed the vice captain before he could even strike him. He then starts aura farming in the middle of the knights, saying that killing the biggest guy is the right way to start a battle. The knights stare in shock as Kyle removes his gloves before taking off his training rings and bracelet that increase his weight by 10 times. He feels a lot lighter now that his restraints are off, and as the knights attack him, he chops them down effortlessly. He then suddenly throws a magic stone towards the horses, causing an explosion that startles them. The horses run away, leaving the knights stranded, and Theron is pleased with that. He kills a few more knights before realizing that he has done enough. He suddenly drops his sword, telling them that his mission was to slow them down and not to kill them all. Now that their leader is dead and their horses have run away, they won't be able to catch the princess, so it is useless for them to keep fighting and risk their lives. He asks the knights to leave now because he doesn't want to kill anyone else, and they decide to take his offer because they know they can't win. However, he was just toying with them, and just as the knights have their back turned towards him, He throws some explosion magic stones to take them out. The ones that are still alive get killed by his swift and merciless strikes. Theron then sits down in the middle of the bloody battlefield, exhausted by acting like a fool and killing 30 knights on his own. In the city, Zentos loses his connection with the knights, and he realizes that they failed too. He decides to take the matter in his own hands and leaves a few knights to guard Cairnas while he heads into the forest by himself. Syl notices him riding towards them and warns Kyle, but Zentos notices her spying on him. He hits her with an energy ball, taking her down, and Syl says that he seems quite powerful and skilled. All this is enough to tell Kyle that Zentos is coming towards them, and he stops his group immediately. He tells Lys and Urza to guard the princess, and if things don't look good, they should immediately turn around and meet with Theron. Mylna asks Kyle if he is sure that he can fight against one of the strongest knights of their kingdom alone, and he replies that he didn't want to fight him, but now there seems to be no other choice. Mylna suddenly starts staring at him and then asks why does he talk like he knows Zentos personally. She asks if it was really a coincidence that he found her when she was in danger, but then decides that it is not the right time for such questions. She thanks Kyle for fighting on her behalf, and he promises that he will return victorious. The dawn soon arrives, and with that, Zentos reaches the place where Kyle is waiting for him. He gets down from his horse and walks towards him, asking if he is the one helping the princess. Kyle affirms and asks why is he alone when he has more knights with him. Zentos replies that he doesn't want more of his men to die for something that doesn't concern them, when he is enough to finish the job. In a desperate attempt to not kill him, Kyle requests Zentos to surrender, promising that he will even ask the princess to pardon him. Zentos finds that statement absurd, and then Kyle asks him why he tried to kill the princess in the first place because money and status couldn't convince him to betray her. Zentos refuses to answer his questions and takes his stance, convinced that he will win quickly and then reach the princess. Kyle takes the same stance, and then both of them cast spells to enhance their speed and strength. They dash towards each other and Kyle dodges the first attack from Zentos. However, that was just an illusion and the real Zentos was hiding behind it. But Kyle knew about that already. He manages to dodge his next attack and land a hit on him, chipping off a bit of his magic shield. Zentos is shocked by this because no one has been able to dodge his attack on their first fight. But he doesn't know that Kyle knows all about his fighting style, because he learned from him in his previous life. However, after avoiding the first lethal combo, Kyle quickly realizes that he is no match for Zentos with his current physical strength. He gets pushed back quickly and Zentos starts firing energy blasts at him that make him lose his balance. Zentos decides to go for the kill, but Kyle manages to step on his sword and use the momentum to get away from him. Zentos is offended by his action of kicking a sword, but Kyle tells him that he learned it from his master before tossing an explosion magic stone at him. However, Zentos uses his quick reflexes and hits the magic stone back towards him, causing him to take damage instead. He then quickly attacks Kyle before he can fully regain his balance, but in their clash, his sword starts cracking. Zentos backs away on realizing that Kyle has a better weapon than him, and in response, Kyle once again asks him to surrender because he doesn't want him to die. Zentos replies that the best way to do so is to get killed instead. He knows that he can't waste any more time, so he decides to go for the kill with his next attack. He takes his stance and lets out a terrifying aura, and Kyle gets ready to face him as well. Zentos asks for his name before they exchange blows and Kyle introduces himself, asking him to remember his name. With that, they charge at each other and Zentos manages to parry Kyle's strike, leaving him defenseless. He then strikes him with full strength, but his sword shatters because it hits Kyle's plot armor, or rather the divine dragon's heart. Zentos realizes that he is the one at a disadvantage now, and Kyle strengthens his heart as he goes for the killing blow on his friend. He slashes him across the chest and Zentos falls on his knees, bleeding profusely. He asks Kyle if he let him deflect his sword to bait him into this position, and Kyle replies that he did not. Zentos really beat him in every department, but he knew that he would directly go for the kill, and he was prepared for that. Zentos remarks that he is a strange man, and then whispers that he is sorry before passing away. With a heavy heart, Kyle apologizes to him, saying that there are things he must protect at all costs, even if it means killing old friends. He starts crying because Zentos was one of those things that he wanted to protect, but it is too late for that now. Back in the city, Cairnas is impatiently pacing around his room, wondering why is Zentos taking so long. Suddenly, He hears someone approaching and thinks that it is Zentos, but unfortunately for him, it turns out to be the 5th Battalion Commander Kilren, who orders her girls to storm the room and arrest the prince. Cairnes orders them to leave him at once, but then Mylna enters the room, and he falls completely silent. Mylna orders Kilren to arrest Cairnes and interrogate him, and use force if he refuses to cooperate with her. She leaves the room with that, and the yelling of the bastard prince turns into screams as the female knights start thrashing him. Once outside the room, Mylna thanks Kyle and his party for helping her survive this ordeal. She takes them to the royal palace to properly thank and reward them, and Theron and Syl immediately lose all control on seeing girls and food there. Kyle apologizes for their behavior, but Mylna tells them that it is no big deal. Just then, the king comes there and she rushes to hold hands with him awkwardly instead of hugging him. She then introduces him to Kyle and his group, and only Kyle has enough manners to greet the king properly. However, the king tells him that there is no need for formality here. He thanks his party for saving his daughter and then begins wondering why would Zentos join a plot to kill Mylna. He tells Kyle and his friends not to disclose this secret to anyone, and Kyle promises that they won't do anything that harms their country. Soon after that, a fake official story is spread throughout the kingdom, stating that both Mylna and Cairnes were traveling to a tragedy-struck territory when they were attacked by dangerous monsters. The knights led by Zentos tried their best to protect them, but ended up losing their lives, and Cairnes was so severely injured that he is still recovering in some secret location. The part about Kyle rescuing Mylna is the only true information that is revealed, and soon, the day comes for him to receive his reward along with his party. Kyle is awarded a Medal of Honor for saving the princess, and the crowd quickly accepts him as a new hero. However, the danger to Mylna's life still persists because the mastermind behind the attack was neither Cairnes nor Zentos, but the king himself. This dip is jealous of his daughter because she is much more talented than him in every aspect, and when she becomes the queen, she will make the country great again, which he could never do. He fears that he won't be remembered in history because of her, and he doesn't want that to happen. As the king is wondering what can he do to kill Mylna, Kyle enters his room, disguised as an assassin. The king panics on seeing him, but Kyle quickly goes behind him and shuts his mouth before he can scream. He begins talking about how he refused his suggestion to help the dwarves as soon as the Great Invasion began, just to hold diplomatic supremacy. His stupid decision caused the dwarves to lose, and as a result, the demon army could easily enter the heart of the continent and conquer other nations. Kyle says that he couldn't really hold his stupidity against him, but earlier, when Zentos apologized to the king with his dying breath, he realized everything. Kyle suddenly pushes the king out onto his balcony with that, saying that it should have been obvious from the start that someone as loyal as Zentos would only attack Mylna if he was directly ordered by the king. The king is sweating buckets at this point, but he still yells at Kyle, asking him what difference does it make to him. Kyle starts pushing him towards the wall, saying that Mylna might be a shrewd schemer too, but at least she is smarter than the rest of the royal family put together. The king starts struggling to get away and manages to remove Kyle's disguise, but it is too late for that because he gets pushed to his death with that. The guards panic on finding his dead body and think that he slipped from the balcony because he was too drunk. However, to protect his image, the official story states that he died from a heart attack. The news quickly reaches Kyle's party too, and Theron is low-key glad that the king survived just long enough to reward them. Otherwise, they would have to wait a lot to get their medal. He is also glad that Mylna is going to take the throne soon, but the thing that concerns the entire party is that she has summoned Kyle for a private meeting before her crowning. In the meeting, Mylna tells Kyle that she is engaged to Prince Mazer of the Gargan Empire, and he is shocked at this news. Mylna explains that their Zergus Empire once made a deal with the Gargan Empire, and in exchange for the territory of Karen, she was promised to the prince. Now, she plans to formally turn down the engagement because the men who decided it were fools and didn't even bother to sign a contract. Moreover, the territory of Karen is not officially connected to the engagement, so it will remain a part of the Zergus Empire nonetheless. However, Mylna wants Kyle to visit the governor of Karen and get his approval for calling off the engagement before she can do anything from her side. This job feels like a burden to Kyle, and at night, he can't stop thinking about it. Syl appears next to him, asking what is he so worried about, and he tells her that he is worried about the reaction of the Gargan Empire. She replies that he should be more concerned about Karen, because it seems they are facing some trouble of their own. She points out that the governor of Karen didn't show up for the king's funeral, which means there is something keeping him really busy. Syl thinks that this is another one of Mylna's shrewd tactics, and she is hoping Kyle will resolve the problem without telling him to do it. He feels a lot better on hearing this because this will help him improve his reputation as a hero, and also because he wants to stay as far away from Mylna as possible. However, he has to meet her once before leaving on the mission, and Mylna asks him to join the Royal Guards and become her personal knight because she wants him close to her 24/7. Kyle is taken aback by her aggressive flirting and tells her that he has other things to do, but if she ever needs him, he will come running. Mylna suddenly tells him that she was just joking and wishes him luck on his journey, and Kyle throws a tantrum as soon as he is back with his friends because he was low-key hoping that the princess would be interested in him. Anyway, he leads his team back to the elite weapon shop run by the old man Fezba, who is pleased to do business with Kyle again. He congratulates him on his medal and wishes him more achievements in the future, when Theron interrupts him and asks if his sword is repaired yet. Fezba immediately presents him the sword, saying that he got his best craftsman to work on it, but Theron asks if he has something better. The shopkeeper apologizes because he doesn't have anything like that, but he promises to use his connections and find a better sword for him. Kyle then asks him if he knows something about Karen because they are going there next, and Fezba immediately tells him that it is a challenging place. He says that the Blacksmith Guild runs the entire city, and they have created many problems, which has made business difficult for them as well. However, he claims that things have started to get a bit better ever since Karen became a part of Zergus. Kyle thanks him for the info, and then Fezba tells Theron that maybe he can find a sword fit for him in Karen because it has a long and rich culture of weapon making. With that, Kyle and Theron rejoin the girls, and together, they set out towards Karen. A few days later, Kyle and his party reach the city-state of Karen, which is built on a mountain. Everyone is surprised to see this, and Lise wonders how could they build a city around the mountain. Suddenly, Syl pops out of the sword, revealing that the people of Karen did not build the city around the mountain, but they built the mountain around the city. That makes even less sense than Trump's tariff plan to the group, and Syl says that the city was built as a defensive outpost against the demons during the golden era of magic. They later found huge ore veins under the city and used magic to bring them to the surface, creating a mountain in the process. While everyone is marveling at ancient magic, a group of Wyvern Knights belonging to the Gargan Empire fly above them. They head straight towards the city of Karen, and Theron hopes that the Wyvern Knights have nothing to do with the issue they are here for. They enter the city and immediately go to the embassy to talk. The gatekeeper checks their documents and contacts the ambassador, and in the meantime, Urza covers her ears because there are a lot of dwarves in the city, and they hate elves. Soon, the ambassador Miranda arrives there to welcome them, and Kyle freezes because he had seen her in his past life too. To end the awkward silence between them, Lise pushes Kyle ahead, and the smooth criminal uses that as a chance to grab Miranda's hand and introduce himself. She politely tells him to follow her inside, but Kyle still can't believe that Miranda was working as the ambassador of the Zergus Empire before meeting him. Once inside, Kyle shows Miranda the official letter from Mylna, and she verifies its contents. She says that it is just like Mylna to send a newly established hero as her messenger. Kyle asks her if she knows the new queen, and Miranda affirms, revealing that she used to be her diplomacy teacher. She then thanks Kyle and friends for saving Mylna's life, and then moves on to business. She says that the governor of Karen is seriously ill, and no one is allowed to meet him. She has tried to reach out to him multiple times over the last few months, but she has been turned down. Kyle gets stressed on hearing this, but Miranda tells him that the governor has to meet him because he is sent here directly by the queen. Miranda then leads Kyle's group to the governor's residence, and Theron decides to hit the market and find some cute girls that will reject him anyway. Meanwhile, Miranda makes a stop in front of the Gargan embassy, telling Kyle that if anyone of his group gets in trouble there, they can't help him. Just then, the old ambassador of Gargan Empire arrives there, and his mere presence is enough to make Mommy Miranda uneasy. Next, a tall and refined gentleman comes forward, introducing himself as Alzard, the second highest ranking court wizard in the Gargan Empire. He says that he is going to meet the governor, and Miranda confronts him, saying she should get to meet the governor first because Karen is a part of the Zergus Empire. The two of them get locked in a cold war, but then Miranda calls for a truce, saying that they should go together. Alzard agrees to that and then turns to Kyle, asking about him. He introduces himself as a messenger of the queen, and Alzard is pleased to meet him because he has heard about his heroic actions. Not just that, Alzard knows Kyle's mom as well because they studied magic together. He says it is a pleasure to meet the son of an old friend and stretches out his left hand for a handshake, but Kyle unsuspectingly shakes it. Soon, the entire group heads to the governor's mansion, but the servant there refuses to let them in, stating that the governor is still too ill. Miranda lashes out at him, saying that if the governor doesn't recover soon, they will have to fire him and appoint a new one, and the nervous servant can just agree with her. Seeing that they can't meet the governor, Alzard takes his leave first, but Miranda knows that he won't sit quietly. She is sure that he knows about the engagement being called off, and in such cases, the Gargan Empire usually tries threatening and bullying others. She decides to assign a new governor who can handle any asshole that tries to harass him, and she already has the ideal candidate for that in the form of the best blacksmith in Karen. Meanwhile, Theron is wandering the city because he can't find a pretty girl or a good weapon. Suddenly, he hears a girl screaming and finds her being harassed by a group of guys. Theron immediately punches away the molesters, but it turns out the person he saved is a guy who just looks like a girl. Theron freaks out on learning that he failed to differentiate a guy from a girl, and he decides to leave the poor femboy to his fate. However, he suddenly gets an idea, and he asks the boy if he has an older sister who is as cute as him. The boy affirms, and that is enough reason for Theron to resume protecting him, and the thugs are flabbergasted by the levels of simping they are seeing. Anyway, the thugs attack him, but it doesn't take any effort from Theron's side to beat them. The guy thanks him and then introduces himself as Go, an artificer who creates magic items. Theron asks him why these men were attacking him, and Go replies that they were debt collectors. At first, Theron thinks that Go is suffering from some family problem that forces him into debt, but then he learns that he got a rich man to invest in his project without telling him that it will take 10 years to finish, and that is why he sent the goons to attack him. Theron Loki agrees with the debt collectors now, but he doesn't really care if he can meet Go's sister and score with him. At this point, Go reveals that his sister is already married, and he hid this fact on purpose because he knew that the Simp Lord won't save him otherwise. Theron is completely devastated now, and he hits Go when he tries to act cute after all this. On the other side, Miranda goes to the residence of the dwarf blacksmith Gazis to convince him to become the new governor, but he is not interested in politics and similar bullshit. Miranda fails to even budge him from his stance, and Kyle realizes why she wants him to become the governor in the first place. Just then, Theron arrives there with Go, who turns out to be the son of Gazis. Go sees that Miranda is trying to convince Gazis for something, and he knows that since they are both stubborn, it will take a lot of time. So he invites everyone to have tea in the meantime. While Go prepares tea, Kyle and his friends look around. Kyle remarks that Go looks more human than dwarf considering that he is the son of a dwarf, but Go replies that he is fully human. He explains that his mother had him and his sister before marrying Gazis, and she died a couple years ago. Her sister also got married recently, so it is just him and Go who live here now. He suddenly notices Theron holding a bottle of super glue and tells him to keep it back before bringing tea for everyone. As Kyle tries to clean the table, he sees a blueprint that leaves him shocked, and Go tells him that it is an ancient magic weapon that he is trying to restore. Kyle clearly remembers the giant Hulkbuster golem that he fought alongside in his previous life, and now he realizes that it was Go who created it. He is truly impressed by that because the golems that Go created achieved a lot more than all human soldiers combined in the war against the demons. The technology to create golems was lost when the Zarl's empire fell, but during the later part of the Great Invasion, prototypes were deployed by the Gargan Empire, and they were quite helpful. Kyle immediately calls out Syl to help because she knows the best about the golems. Syl is impressed by Go's designs as well because they are quite accurate, and she tells Kyle that there is a high chance of success. He is thrilled to hear this because if they can start mass-producing golems now, they will have a much better chance to win when the battle with the demons starts. He climbs on Go, telling him to build those golems as soon as possible, but he replies that they will take another 10 years. Kyle tells him to bring that time down to 1 year, and if he needs funds, he has got him covered. He immediately dumps out a bag full of Zarl's coins, and Go thanks him, promising to start working on the project quickly. Kyle then asks him to keep this between them, and Go tells him that he has other patrons as well. Kyle tells them to return their money immediately because he doesn't need any other sugar daddy. Go is really happy that he got the best investor possible, but Syl is a bit taken aback by Kyle's enthusiasm. On the other hand, the negotiations fail and Miranda returns empty-handed. She tells Gazas that she will return, but he tells her there is no need. Miranda just pouts and leaves, and after that Kyle decides to approach the master blacksmith. He says that he needs a brilliant sword for his friend, but Gazas simply tells him that he is not accepting any orders at the moment. However, Go is there to advocate for his sugar daddy, sponsor, and he asks Gazas to at least hear him out. Gazas decides to listen to his son's request and turns around, quickly noticing Urza's ears. He tells her to relax because he is not a racist, but Theron intervenes, saying he needs a sword because his current one is not good enough. Gazas can tell that the sword is made by a skilled blacksmith from the sheath, and he says that not many swordsmen can honestly say that they need a better sword. However, Go advocates for him too, and then Theron says that he would like a sword like Kyle's if it is possible at all. Kyle unveils his sword at this, and Gazas is dumbfounded on seeing a legendary weapon in front of his eyes. He has seen other great weapons, but only one of them was even close to this. He says that he can't make anything like this and asks them to come back later, because he is no longer in a mood to talk. As Kyle's group leaves his house, they begin talking about the other legendary weapon that Gazas mentioned, and Syl starts sulking, saying that no weapon can compare to her. Later, Kyle talks to Syl, saying that they couldn't get an answer from Gazas, but at least the golem was a good find. He thinks that in the previous timeline, Go failed to make them and had to sell the blueprints to cover his debt, which is how they ended up in the Gargan Empire's hands. He feels that they should collab with the Empire because of their advanced technology. But at this point, when relations between them and Zergus are not that great, it could start a war. The next morning, he gets a surprise visit from Alzard, who wants to talk to his friend's son. He invites him and his friends for lunch and then a ride on top of the wyverns, and Kyle is shocked because the skills to ride wyverns are a state secret. Alzard tells him that it was Kyle's genius mom who came up with those techniques, so he can see them. He gets nostalgic talking about her and then leaves, and just then, Syl comes out, saying that Alzard has a great amount of magic and he might even be able to cast special grade spells someday. Later, Kyle goes to have dinner with him and takes Miranda along with him instead of his uncivilized friends, but just as they approach the dining room, he senses a powerful and evil presence. He quickly rushes inside the room and finds blood splattered everywhere and Alzard's dead body lying on the table with a demon woman standing in front of it. Kyle angrily yells at the demon, fully aware that he is facing the greatest foe of humans. He believes that not many humans of the current generation are aware of how strong demons are, and most of them wouldn't even recognize a demon if they saw one. However, he can tell from the horn on the woman's head and her menacing aura that she is a demon. He is quite tense himself because he is not ready to fight a demon yet, but he doesn't have much choice in the matter. The demon woman sighs before unleashing her claws and then charges at Kyle, who runs to face her. He uses his arm as a shield to block her claws and then hits her with a magic body blast. The demon takes a few steps back as a result of the damage, but while Kyle confidently taunts her, he knows that he is at a disadvantage. He doesn't have his sword or his armor, and he can't use much magic either. Luckily, the guards come running there just then, and as soon as the demon woman sees them, she runs away. Kyle can't even try to stop her, but he is really curious about why a demon would run away just because a couple more humans came to her location. Anyway, he turns his attention towards Alzard's corpse and soon, he finds that a lot of soldiers and employees at the embassy were killed, but no one saw or heard anything until later. On the other hand, Go is learning the science of golem creation from Sildonia, and she is impressed that he is so smart at his age. This makes Go curious about the lowly's age, but before Syl can say anything, Lise comes there to invite both of them to tea. As they have tea and snacks, Go asks about Kyle and Urza tells him that he went to have lunch with a high-profile man from the Empire, but since they are a bunch of mannerless brutes, he didn't take them along. Meanwhile, Theron keeps sighing because he has still not received an answer from Gazas about his new sword. He suddenly gets an idea and asks Go if he has heard about a sword comparable to Kyle's that Gazas mentioned. Go thinks that he must be talking about the holy sword Rand that was forged in Karen 2,000 years ago by a legendary dwarf blacksmith. It is said that the hero Randolph used the sword to kill the demon lord of his time, and it received the name because of the hero. Go says that the sword is apparently still in the city, and Theron gets really excited on hearing this. Go believes that the sword will probably be with a governor, and Theron begins scheming an evil plan to get his hands on it. However, Go warns him that the sword is a national treasure and he won't get it so easily. Theron doesn't listen to him and instead asks the boy if he has any real enemies unlike the debt collectors he faced yesterday. Go doesn't understand what he means, and Theron says that the house is surrounded by 10 people with intense bloodlust. He can sense that they are strong, so he decides to step outside to deal with them. However, he feels that some of them might get past him and tells the girls to be on their guard. Once he leaves, Urza tells Go to hide, but he wants to help. Syl tells him that they are too weak to help anyone right now and tells him to follow her. Outside, the thugs get into position, but just as they are about to open the door, Theron kicks it with full force, knocking a couple of them out with it. He then pats the shoulder of the nearest thug, saying that he found someone whom he can torture until he reveals who sent him here. The guy panics, but Theron knocks him out with one punch before telling the rest to run away if they want to live. However, they attack him without listening to his advice, and Theron is not really happy about it. Meanwhile, a couple of thugs sneak inside the house where Urza and Lys are ready to face them. Urza notices the poison on their knives and tells Lys to be careful, who takes a deep breath to calm down and then shows off her boxing training, knocking Baldy out quickly. On the other hand, the other thug attacks Urza, but her water spirit blocks his knife before trapping him in a water bubble. He passes out quickly, and then Urza sends the water spirit back. After that, the girls tie up the thugs they knocked down to interrogate them later, and Go is scared of them because he didn't think they would be so strong. Just then, Theron also returns with the thug he has captured, and he starts the interrogation process. He directly asks the thug to spill out who sent him and what was his mission. When he doesn't reply, he asks him to cooperate or the 2 women behind him will torture him so much that he would pray for death. Both Urza and Lys are nervous on hearing this, and Theron tells the thug that they are certified torture specialists. He hypes up Lys as the woman who can turn anything into a torture instrument, and Urza as the sadist who will feed their target healing potions just as he is about to lose consciousness so that he suffers for longer. Theron then tells the thug that he will beg for death, but the girls won't even allow him to die. However, Theron declares that he is not as cruel as them, so he will give the thug a chance to escape with his life. He tells him to take the offer before the other 2 guys get up, because they would be more than happy to take this chance to reveal everything they know in exchange for their lives. The thug folds and says that their mission was just to kidnap Go, and they were told to kill anyone who got in their way. Go gets worried on hearing this and remarks that lately a lot of people have gone missing in the city, but no one knows the reason. Theron realizes that the cases are connected, and he asks the thug what happens to the people they kidnap. He replies that they just drop them at an abandoned house outside the city, and that is the end of their job. Theron remarks that they must be a stupid gang to target people in broad daylight, and the thug gets pissed at this. He says that they are more sneaky usually, but since everyone here is an outsider, they thought killing them would be easier than waiting for the right chance. While this discussion is going on inside, a demon arrives outside the house and begins charging a powerful magic attack. Theron doesn't even realize it at first as he keeps questioning the thug, but just as he senses danger, he tells everyone to get down. The thug, however, doesn't have this luxury, and he gets hit point blank by the powerful attack from the demon. Luckily, everyone else survives the explosion and Lys and Urza get ready to chase after the attacker. Theron tells them to give up because the opponent was really strong and they can't handle him. Just then, Syl comes out of hiding while munching on snacks, and he tells Theron that he has good judgment, because the enemy that just attacked them was a demon, and they couldn't have beaten it even if they worked together. Later, they unite with Kyle and Miranda, and both parties update each other on what happened. Miranda says that the situation is quite grim, because even though it was clear that a demon killed Alzard, the Gargan Empire is going to use this chance to pressure them. It will probably say that the Zergus Empire is working with demons and will try to bully them diplomatically, and that is just one of their problems. Syl says that since the demons are involved in this case, they have to be very careful because if the demons want, they can destroy the entire city without much difficulty. Kyle also knows that, and he says that before they look into the demons, they should learn more about the kidnappings and find if the governor has anything to do with them. Miranda admits that she knows about the kidnappings, and she also thinks that the governor can be connected to them, but she still can't believe that he would put the citizens of his own city in danger. While they are discussing this matter, a servant comes running in, telling them that the governor's mansion is on fire. By the time Kyle and others reach there, the mansion has been completely burnt to the ground, and now everyone is certain that someone shady is behind it because they wanted to cover their tracks. Miranda tells them that they couldn't find the body of the governor, and that is even more confusing because he was too sick to move. Lise asks if the demons did this too, but Kyle thinks that it is not the demons who are behind it. Miranda also believes that they are too strong and proud to use arson as their weapon, and that only leaves the governor as the suspect behind this fire. She says that they need to find him quickly, and Kyle remembers how her strategic thinking and expertise at handling logistics made her a key figure in the war against the demons. Just then, Go arrives there, worried about Gazis because he was summoned by the governor a few hours before the fire started. He is still missing, and Kyle thinks that the governor tried getting rid of Gazis because he was a candidate to become the next governor. Miranda, on the other hand, freaks out and falls to the ground, blaming herself for this situation because she nominated Gazis to be the next governor. She begins crying as she wonders what they can do now, and Kyle can't understand why is she so frantic. Suddenly, he remembers that in the previous timeline, Miranda got drunk once and told him that she had a lover once, but he died because of her and she gave up on her emotions altogether after that. Kyle is flabbergasted as he realizes that Gazis and Miranda are dating, but turns out it is not even a secret as Go already knows that. As he tells Theron and others about the relationship between the two, Kyle takes care of the feverish Miranda. He thinks that this was the incident which Miranda mentioned in the past life, and he tries to remember more details that can help him save Gazis if he is still alive. Kyle suddenly remembers the drunk Miranda mumbling something about finding the underground passage sooner, and he realizes that it is the answer he is looking for. He immediately wears his armor and goes outside, telling Urza to come with him to the governor's mansion because he needs her help to find something. Theron decides to join him because he plans to find the Holy Sword, and Lise can't be left behind either. Kyle then asks Go to look after Miranda while they try to find the secrets hidden in the underground passage. Soon, they reach the rubble of the mansion and Urza asks Kyle what does he want her to do. He asks her to summon an earth spirit to remove the rubble from the field and find an underground passage. Urza snaps on hearing this because summoning spirits and keeping them in this world takes a lot of mana, and the rubble is spread over such a huge area that she will run out of mana before she can even cover 1/10 of it. She asks Kyle if he wants her to waste her energy for an underground passage that might not even be there, and he affirms. He tells her that mana is not a problem because he has dozens of mana potions for her to replenish it. Urza loses a few years of her life on seeing the mana potions because they taste absolutely diabolical. Kyle begs her to help him because she might be the only person who can save Gazis from certain death. Theron and Lise request her to help too, and Urza, the pushover, folds. As she marches to the rubble field with the box of mana potions, Kyle asks Theron if he is sure that he saw a male demon earlier. Theron affirms and Kyle gets worried because that means there are at least 2 demons in Karen right now. With that, Urza and the others keep searching for the underground passage through the rubble. She has already drunk a lot of mana potions when she suddenly notices something strange on the ground. She does some digging and finally finds the underground passage, much to Kyle's relief. The group heads into the underground passage and Kyle tells everyone to be careful because they might face the demons up ahead. Theron replies that the male demon felt incredibly strong, almost as strong as his mom when she is serious. Kyle thinks that is an apt comparison because Theron's mom is a true monster too. He then tells the girls that they probably shouldn't come with them because Urza is exhausted and Lise might not be able to handle a demon. Lise lashes out at him and tells him that women can do everything men can. Urza agrees with her, and Kyle realizes that he can't send them away at this rate. He thinks that with Theron here, they should be fine, and even if a particularly strong demon arrives, he should be able to protect the girls. Just then, Lise notices a door at the end of the tunnel, and they immediately rush towards it. They enter a room with a magic circle on the floor and the dried-up corpse of a man in its center. Kyle panics on seeing this because this reminds him of the creepy scene he saw in the Demon King's castle in his previous life. Just then, Syl appears from the sword and begins examining the magic circle and the crystal floating above it. She quickly determines that it is being used to conduct a forbidden ceremony to absorb power from people and convert it into mana. Everyone is horrified to hear this, and then Kyle recognizes that the man in the center of the magic circle is the servant they met the other day. On the other side of the room, there is a heap of dead people, who they realize are the people kidnapped from the city. Syl then notices that the scale of the magic is not quite huge, and the crystal which is being used as a catalyst will soon explode. She thinks that it will blow the entire city from the face of Earth, but Kyle is more interested about what kind of spell they are trying to cast with this much power. Syl doesn't have a certain answer to that question, and before she can study the magic circle further, she notices that someone is approaching them. They hide behind a rock as the two demons arrive there, and it seems they are in the middle of a disagreement about their mission to collect information while working with a human. The female demon asks him if it was necessary to kill all the people at the embassy, and the male demon replies that it was the request of their human collaborator to do that. He assures her that even though he killed some people, the casualties were not enough to create major disturbances. He then tells her that it doesn't matter if she is pissed that they have to work with humans, because their mission is to obtain an item that the Demon King really wants, and they must swallow their pride to complete his order. He then unleashes his powers and burns the dried body of the servant, saying that this is enough trash disposal for today. The demons then head outside to get some fresh air, and Kyle and his friends are quite shocked by what they learned. They decide to find Gazis and Governor Bax before confronting them, so head deeper into the underground passage and come to a luxurious room where Gazis is tied up. They rush to free him immediately, but Lex Luthor from Walmart, who has already crossed his best before date, starts yelling at them. He asks them who the hell are they and what are they doing in his man cave. Kyle realizes that he is the governor, and Bax also realizes that they are the messengers from the Zergus Empire. He says that both the Gargan and the Zergus Empire are trying to control their city, but he won't let that happen. He declares that he will protect it at all costs, and Theron tells him that sacrificing his own people doesn't exactly count as protecting. Kyle asks if something is going to happen to Karen, and Gazis replies that their mines are soon going to run out of minerals. Bax panics at this and asks Gazis not to reveal their secrets. The blacksmith, however, claims that it is too late to hide the truth. He says that once the mines die out, the city will lose its value. The blacksmiths will scatter and Karen will lose its autonomy and fully become a part of the Zergus Empire. Bax Luthor says that he won't let that happen, but then he starts coughing like crazy. Syl realizes that he has 2 months to live at max, and Kyle thinks that the demons took advantage of his weakness to turn him to their side. Just then, the male demon arrives there, calling Kyle a racist for thinking that demons manipulate weak humans. He says that they just offered the old governor a deal, and he took it. He says that the demons offered to conduct the forbidden ritual that would create more ores in the mines, and Kyle asks him what does he get in exchange. The demon replies that their king wanted the holy sword Rand, that was used to defeat a demon lord in the past. Everyone is shocked to hear that the holy sword is here and the governor is going to trade it off to the demons. He says that his initial mission was just to gather info, and he started with Karen because this city produces the best weapons on the human continent. Once he got to know about the problems they faced, he reached out to the governor, and that is how they made the deal. Just then, the female demon comes there, telling her partner that he has said too much. He panics as he tells her that he is just going to kill these humans, so it isn't a problem. However, Kyle draws his sword and challenges him to fight, assuring him that he won't lose to him. The demon is flustered and gets ready to attack, but his partner tries to stop him because they need to avoid fighting. She also reminds him that they need to get the holy sword, but he says that they can just kill the witnesses and rush home. Bax starts walking towards the demon, telling him to fulfill his promise of helping the city. But Theron rushes to stop him since he needs that holy sword more badly than anyone else. Kyle tells the governor to give up on his dreams of saving the city, because the demons are not going to help him. He tells him that their catalyst is at its limit, and they can't control it to revive the mines. The demon is impressed that Kyle could figure that out, and says that it doesn't matter now because getting rid of this city will be a good reward for the mission as well. Bax gets furious when he learns that he got played by demons and curses them, but Theron knocks him out and hands him over to Gazis. The male demon then tells his partner to deal with the 2 girls while he deals with the 2 boys, but Kyle wants Theron to support the girls instead. However, he refuses, saying that he needs to figure out something on his own before that, and leaves the battlefield. Kyle is pissed at him, but he decides to fight the male demon alone, aware that it is not going to be an easy fight. Meanwhile, the female demon tells Lise and Urza to run away because she doesn't want to kill any humans. They think that it is a trap, but she tells them that she doesn't need to trap someone weaker than her. Well, Lise and Urza take that personally, and Lise attacks the demon girl, only to get kicked away instantly. The demon girl then attacks Urza, who is somehow able to dodge her initial attack and summon a fire spirit. She attacks the demon girl, but she easily evades everything and lands a powerful kick to knock her down as well. Meanwhile, Theron just watches everything from the sidelines, and Syl joins him, asking if he doesn't plan to help his friends. Theron believes that the demon girl isn't going to kill Urza or Lys, so he can let them get their asses whooped to learn a lesson. Instead, he is more curious about a small red cube that he swiped from the governor's pocket while helping him earlier. Syl examines it and finds that it is a magic device that can be used to hide other magic items. Theron tells her that when the demon mentioned the holy sword earlier, Bax looked behind him, and he figured out that he was hiding the sword nearby. Syl is impressed by his observation skills and tells him that his theory might be right. Theron immediately goes to the governor's seat and shatters the magic cube, and the location of the sword becomes visible. Meanwhile, Kyle is struggling in his fight against the demon man. He is being pushed back constantly, but unbothered by this, Theron reaches the location he can sense a powerful energy from, and a small pillar appears there out of nowhere. He destroys the pillar with his sword, revealing the holy sword Rand, and he picks it up, proudly declaring that he found the holy sword. Everyone looks at Theron immediately, but luckily, his friends know exactly how to use this opportunity. While the demons are distracted by Theron, Kyle and the girls charge towards their opponents. Urza commands her fire spirit to attack the demon girl, who blocks the flame breath. But just then, Lys attacks her from up close. While the demon seems to have dodged the surprise attack, she gets scratched by her punch and starts bleeding. Lys and Urza are now confident that they can win, but the demon mommy is pissed. She decides to get rid of them both when suddenly, she hears the screams of her partner, who is lying on the ground after being humbled by Kyle. Turns out he is not even that hurt, but he has lost his horn, which is considered the pride of demons. Kyle steps on his pride, telling the demon that he knows that demons who lose their horns are considered an inferior species. Just then, Theron also joins the group, boasting about how the holy sword fits perfectly in his hands, and the female demon asks him to hand it over to her. He just scoffs at her audacity and says that he should test it out against the demons, but Kyle has another plan. He suggests that they end the fight for now and go home safely. Everyone is shocked to hear that, but Kyle explains that they have injured people on their side and he wants to get them to hospital instead of fighting. However, he doesn't want to leave the fight incomplete as well, so he suggests that they return to this place 3 days later for a duel. If the demons can win that duel, they can take the holy sword and the horn. Theron refuses to bet his sword, but Kyle ignores him like terms and conditions under a game. He says that if the demons lose, they have to give them all the information they have about other demons infiltrating the human continent and their discoveries. He assures the demon that they will fight one-on-one and taunts him, asking if he is going to refuse a duel against a human whom he thinks inferior. The demon accepts his challenge and blasts a hole in the wall to get out with his partner. Once the demons leave, Kyle and others also return to the city. Miranda runs to hug Gazis as soon as she sees him, but Kyle has to go on and interrupt their emotional reunion. He asks them about what is going on with Governor Bax, and Gazis says that the old man was not always like this. He cared about Karen and was a good governor once, but as things started getting tough for the city, he went batshit crazy. He says that Bax started going in the wrong direction out of desperation, and when Gazis found out about the kidnappings, he tried to stop him. However, Bax told him to join his side and even threatened to kill Go and Miranda if he spoke out to anyone about them. That is why Gazis tried to distance himself from everyone, but in the end, he got caught up in the governor's mess. With this topic out of the way, Gazis brings up the holy sword Rand, and Kyle asks him to let Theron keep it because he found it. Gazis refuses because the sword is a national treasure of Karen. However, Kyle reminds him that they saved his life, and before that, they saved Go's life from the attackers as well as Miranda's life from the demon at the embassy. Gazis is not convinced with this, so Kyle decides to improve his offer. He knows that there is no more mithril in Karen's mines, and he pulls out a chunk of high-quality mithril ore for him. Gazis almost starts drooling on seeing the chunk of rare metal, and Kyle says that he found it in some ancient ruins and brought it here because he wanted a skilled blacksmith to create weapons using it. He then starts glazing Gazis, calling him the greatest blacksmith on the continent who might forge a holy sword someday. He offers to supply him as much mithril as he needs for his projects, and says that it should be enough to make up for one holy sword. Gazis is still not sure, but then Miranda says that the holy sword Rand was never officially in Karen, so he can take it, and Gazis simply agrees with her. After that, Kyle hands the master blacksmith a blueprint and asks him to make an item for him. Gazes says he can get it done in 3 days, but Kyle wants it in 2 days because he has a duel after that. Gazes calls him a pain in the ass, but still heads to his forge to complete the project. Later that night, Kyle catches up with his friends and finds that the girls are really motivated to fight the female demon again because she basically humiliated them during the entire fight. Theron, on the other hand, is disappointed because he didn't get to use the holy sword. Kyle tells him that they will get other chances for it, because first, they need to defeat the demons and get information out of them. Theron tells him that the demons were on a different level, and defeating them in a fair duel might now be easy, but Kyle replies that he asked for 3 days of prep time for that reason only. The next day, Kyle and Syl head over to the underground area again, and Syl suggests that she drain the magic power stored in the catalyst before it explodes. However, Kyle asks her if she can transfer the power to the divine dragon's heart instead, because that may come handy later. Syl likes the idea and says that it won't be a big deal, which brings Kyle to his second question. He asks her if it is even possible to create more mithril using the spell the demons were talking about. Syl says that it is not possible, and the best case scenario is using magic to pull out mithril from deep inside the earth. However, it is not guaranteed to work, and it would change the geography of the area enough to destroy the entire city. With that, she starts absorbing the catalyst's power into the dragon's heart, and Kyle returns to the city. He spends his time watching over Urza and Lisa's training and visiting Gazes to keep reminding him of the deadline. 2 days pass like this, and on the night before the duel, Theron is snoring peacefully, but that gives double anxiety to Syl. Kyle tells her that it is a good thing that Theron is relaxed, because they might need his help to win against the demons tomorrow. He says that currently, they need information on demons more than anything else, because that can help them win the future war. The next day, Kyle and his friends head to the underground passage, but since the dumb forgot to specify the time of the duel earlier, the demons have not yet arrived. The girls decide to take a tea break in the meantime, and Kyle asks them if they have any plans about their fight with the demon woman. As they talk about their plans, the demons arrive there, and they are low-key disgusted on seeing them chilling when they are about to fight much stronger enemies. Kyle tries to act like a total doofus with cookie crumbs on his face as he challenges the demons. The female demon asks if he is trying to insult them, but her partner has learnt from the past, and he tells her that Kyle is just trying to make them loosen their guard by acting like an idiot. Well, seeing that his taunts are not working, Kyle decides to get to business. However, before starting the duel, he tells the demon that they should head to a more open place because 2 fights can't happen at the same time in the cramped cave. The male demon agrees to his suggestion, confident that he will utterly destroy the human even if he has some tricks up his sleeve. He leaves the cave with Kyle, while the female demon gets ready to fight the girls. Theron stays back as the witness, telling the demon woman that he will give her the sword if she wins, and Syl is also there to alert Kyle in case anything happens here. The female demon says that she doesn't want to fight, but if it is for the holy sword, she is not going to show mercy. She unleashes her full power because she isn't underestimating Urza and Lys this time, and then asks them to surrender if they want to live. When they don't surrender, she immediately charges at Lys, forcing her to guard herself against her barrage of punches. As Lys gets away from the demon woman, Urza summons her fire spirit to attack her. The demon woman dodges that easily, and the fire attack heads towards Lys, who hides behind a rock pillar to protect herself. The female demon finds their behavior a little sus, but she decides to deal with the magic user first. She dashes towards Urza, using her fire spirit as a footstand to jump up. However, Urza uses an artifact to summon an earth spirit that blocks her attack and grabs her hand. The demon woman was not expecting this, and Lys uses this chance to launch a surprise attack at her. However, the demon manages to counter with a sharp kick that barely grazes Lys but still rattles her. As Lys tries to get back in her groove, the demon woman breaks the earth spirit's hand and attacks Urza, knocking her down. Syl remarks that the demon is much stronger than the girls and tells Theron to help them, but he believes in true gender equality and says that women should face their enemies themselves instead of relying on men. Also, he remarks that the situation isn't that bad, because Urza and Lys still think they can win. The demon woman attacks them again, and Urza summons another earth spirit. The demon says she will tear through the spirit, but just then, Lys kicks the spirit's back, sending a huge block of stone towards the female demon that takes her by surprise. Before she can even process that the girls use the earth spirit as a decoy and a weapon, Lys lands another powerful punch, shattering the rock and hitting her gut. Furious, she charges ahead to finish the fight, but Lise stands in her place till the last moment before landing another devastating punch to her belly, forcing the demon to her knees. At the same time, Kyle and the male demon reach an isolated room to start their duel, and the demon is suspicious of a trap lying in wait for him. On the other side, the fight between the demon mommy and the girls is not yet over. Despite being injured, the female demon charges at Lise, almost gouging her eyes out, but Lise dodges her attack and deals a deadly body blow, forcing her back. She then gets aside, letting Urza hit the demon lady with her fire spirit's most powerful attack. As the demon is engulfed in flames, Lise and Urza celebrate their victory and head back to their friends. However, the female demon is not dead yet, and she stands in the middle of the flames farming aura, waiting for the right chance to attack. However, before she can start the second round of the fight, she wants to know how Lise dodged her attack because she is much faster than any human. Lise thinks about it for a second and then calls the demon woman a one-trick pony. She explains that her moves are really straightforward and easy to predict. Urza agrees and says that she was fighting better when she was holding back. The girls tell the demon that maybe this is the first time she has put her life on the line, which means she lacks combat experience. They add that she looks really earnest in real life, and that reflects in her fighting style, which makes her easy to read. The demon woman is really embarrassed by this, but she realizes that the girls are not lying. So when they tell her to get ready for round 2, she simply admits that she lost. Urza and Lise are confused by this, and the demon tells them that she is not afraid to lose or to die, but the demon lord has ordered her to return alive. Now that she has lost once, she can't take the risk of fighting them again because that may end up with her dying. She surrenders to them even though it shatters her pride, and asks what should she do now. Urza and Lise are lost for ideas, and they wonder if they should just let the female demon go because she doesn't seem like she is going to create trouble. However, Theron yells at them from behind and asks if they are really stupid enough to let a demon go free. The girls understand this, but Lise keeps on saying that only Theron can be so cold-hearted as to kill an enemy who has already surrendered. He gets pissed at her for this, but Urza ignores them both and recalls that Kyle wanted some information out of her about the demon spies. The female demon tells them that she and her partner were the only ones sent by the demon lord, and if someone else came to the human territory by themselves, she has no idea about it. The girls don't know what else to ask her now, and the demon says that if either of them was a guy, she would have slept with him to pay the penalty of losing the fight. The girls get flustered on hearing this, and then the demon woman says that maybe she can sleep with Kyle in their place. Well, neither Lise nor Urza is having that, and they tell the demon to get lost immediately. She begins walking away, but then stops midway, asking the girls if they would like to at least introduce themselves before they part ways. Lise and Urza introduce themselves, and then the demon woman tells them that her name is Yuliga. Yuliga leaves with that, and Syl finds her quite polite for a demon. However, as she starts yapping about the demons in her age to Theron, she finds that he is missing from his seat. He is running towards Yuliga with his sword drawn, telling her to let him try out his weapon on her. On the other hand, before Kyle's fight begins, the male demon asks him where is his horn. Kyle shows him that he is carrying the horn with him, and he can take it if he wins. The demon is pleased to see this, and he gets ready to fight. Kyle decides to get close to him and finish the fight before the demon can get the chance to spam his magic attacks. He boosts his physical abilities and charges ahead, but the demon doesn't move. Instead, he uses his arm to block Kyle's sword to hold him in place so that he can hit him from up close. Kyle manages to dodge the full impact of the attack somehow, but he still takes serious damage. He realizes that the demon is using his full power this time, and he can't win with the strategy he prepared earlier. The demon realizes that Kyle is having second thoughts, and he proudly declares that he killed countless humans like him in the previous war between demons and humans. He then starts spamming his magic orbs at Kyle, who can only dodge them. He still gets hit by some of the attacks and decides to risk it all to close the gap between them. However, the demon simply uses the force to his advantage and pushes him against the wall of the cave. As he walks towards Kyle to finish him off, Kyle suddenly gets an idea. He takes out the demon's horn, threatening to shatter it if he moves. The demon says that he values his horn, but not enough to sacrifice his life for it. But Kyle thinks that he is bluffing. He calls his bluff by tossing the horn up in the air, and while the demon is distracted by it, he tries stabbing him and pushing him all the way to the other corner of the room. However, he missed the demon's body completely on purpose, because he had another plan in mind. Suddenly, the wall behind them collapses, and the demon is almost pushed off the edge into a lava river. Without missing a beat, Kyle attacks him from behind, but the demon is able to evade his attack and push him back with his attacks. He even manages to disarm Kyle and tells him that no matter how good he is, a human cannot beat a demon. He prepares a huge magic ball to finish him off, but then Kyle suddenly pulls out a bottle of Diddy serum from his pocket and throws it at the demon. At first, the demon doesn't even realize what is happening, but then he finds himself unable to move his hand. Turns out, the Diddy serum was actually superglue, and now the demon can't move from his place. But that is not all. Kyle has another surprise prepared for him, and coincidentally, it is hiding right behind the mound he is leaning on. He grabs a chain and pulls it out of the lava before swinging it towards the demon. The demon screams in pain as the red-hot Ghost Rider chain tightens around his body, but he is still confident that he can break through it with magic. However, Kyle tells him that magic won't work against the chain because it is made out of mithril. The demon is dumbfounded to hear this, but then Kyle points his sword at him and asks him to answer all his questions. The demon surrenders and tells Kyle to shoot his questions. First, Kyle asks him if the current Demon King really wants peace with humans. The demon affirms, saying that the current Demon Lord is Ruiza, the daughter of the previous Demon King. She has had some interactions with humans during the previous war, and she doesn't hate them as much. Meanwhile, an invisible bug is lingering around the room, but the demon notices it, and he keeps an eye on its movement while answering Kyle's questions. Kyle asks him if there aren't any demons who stand against her, and the demon replies that there are many demons who want war, and they were the ones who forced Ruiza into sending them here. Kyle then asks him if the demons from the pro-war faction are trying to overthrow the current Demon Lord, and he replies that Ruiza is incredibly powerful and defeating her won't be easy for anyone. As for his final question, Kyle asks the demon if he has met a hornless black-winged demon who is a candidate to become the next Demon King. The demon replies that no one would accept a hornless demon as their king, and on top of that, he doesn't know any black-winged demon powerful enough to be a candidate. Kyle has heard everything, and he decides that the demon is no longer useful to him. He decides to finish him off, but the demon begs him to stop, offering to set up a meeting between him and Ruiza so that he can directly talk to her. Kyle likes the offer and lowers his sword, but the demon is not planning to cooperate with him for real. He commands his invisible bug to attack him from behind, but Kyle slashes it in two without even looking at it. He tells the demon that he was staring at the bug so intensely that he didn't even need to turn around to attack it. Kyle knows that the demon can create these invisible insects called assassin bugs to launch sneak attacks on his enemies, killing them without leaving any trace. The demon is shocked by this and asks how does he know about his power, and Kyle further stuns him by revealing that he even knows his name. He tells the demon named Garnias that they have met before, and he is completely bewildered by that. He doesn't understand what is going on, and Kyle says that in his previous lifetime, he felt a strange fear when he faced him because he was crazy loyal to the Demon King. In this lifetime, he can't sense that loyalty, and that makes Garnias much less scary. Kyle then kicks him into the lava below, saying that Garnias killed many of his friends in the war, but he was the one they captured and tortured to learn the location of the Demon Lord's castle. Kyle says that without him, they wouldn't have succeeded in their suicide attempt, but Garnias doesn't listen to all that and just keeps on cursing him. However, he doesn't have enough points in his defense stats to endure the lava for long, and soon he drowns into the lava, going silent forever. Meanwhile, Theron's attack doesn't hit Yuliga, and instead, he kills an assassin bug sent after her by Garnias. The girls come running there, lashing out at him for trying to kill an unarmed opponent, but Theron tells them that he actually saved her life. Syl examines the remains of the assassin bug and realizes that the male demon sent it after Yuliga. She agrees with her, thinking that he wanted to silence her so that she could not tell the Demon Lord or anyone else that he lost his horn to a human. While everyone bonds over their hatred for Garnias, Lys praises Theron, saying that despite how he seems, he actually is a good guy. Theron eats up that praise, but the truth is that he was really trying to kill Yuliga and changed his target instinctively as he sensed the insect's presence. Yuliga, however, believes that he wanted to save her, and she tells him that she owes him one. Theron immediately tries to cash that debt in by inviting her for Netflix and chill, but Lys elbows him hard to shut him up. Yuliga just scoffs at this and walks away, telling everyone that she will remember them even if they don't ever meet again. The girls begin talking about how Yuliga will probably be much stronger if they meet in the future, but Theron is wondering about Kyle's order to not let the female demon leave alive. However, he can't just go after her and kill her after everyone thinks he saved her once, so he decides to come up with an excuse to pacify Kyle later. The next day, as Theron is swinging around his new sword to get used to it, Kyle suddenly asks him what he thought of the demons. Theron replies that they didn't seem as terrifying as the stories make them to be, even though they were stronger than most humans he has ever met. He feels that they are not that different from humans, and Kyle replies that he thinks the same. He begins to wonder if this is one of the reasons that Theron let the demon woman go. Yesterday, when he first found that Theron let Yuliga go despite his instructions to finish her off, he was really mad. However, now he is sure that she was not a bad person or a threat to them, because Theron would have not let her go in that case. As Kyle is thinking about how temporary peace has changed both humans and demons, the girls come there. He is concerned about their injuries from their fight with Yuliga, and the girls get embarrassed as they tell him that they are completely fine. After that, Kyle heads over to Go's house along with Syl. While he goes to talk with Gazis, Go asks Syl to come with him because he has something important to discuss with her. Kyle checks up on Gazis, who has recovered from the incidents of the past week. Gazis knows that Kyle is leaving the city the next day, so he has prepared farewell gifts in advance. Kyle is amazed as he sees sword sheaths for him and Theron, and Gazis says that they are made from mithril, so they can perfectly hold their holy swords. On the other hand, Go requests Syl to stay with him forever, and he is not just talking about learning magic technology from her. However, Syl doesn't understand that the boy likes her, and she tells him that he can finish the golems on his own. She says that she belongs to Kyle and has to go wherever he goes, and that breaks Go's heart because this moron doesn't know that Syl is a sword spirit. As Kyle arrives there and takes Syl away, Go curses him for taking the lowly away when he already has Urza and Lys. After that, Kyle goes to meet Miranda and learns that Governor Bax hit his expiry date a couple days ago. He confessed everything about the kidnappings on his deathbed, so the problems of their city are resolved. But Miranda is worried about the bigger issue, which is the massacre at the Gargan embassy. Kyle also knows that, and Miranda says that Gargan will surely blame the Zergus Empire for the massacre, and since Queen Mylna is also canceling her engagement at the same time, they are sure to take some hostile steps. However, Miranda believes that they will manage somehow, because Gazis has officially accepted the offer to become the governor of Karen, but on the condition that he can work as a blacksmith as much as he wants. After that, Kyle suddenly becomes a detective and asks Miranda if she was behind the debt-related issues Go was facing recently. She is taken aback at this accusation, but Kyle explains his reasoning. Since Gazis was distancing himself from her because of threats from Bax, she grew impatient and decided to use Go as a tool to get closer to him again. She let some shady people lend money to him and then waited for them to target Go so that she could save him and win Gazis over. Miranda is in shambles because Kyle's theory is correct, but luckily, he doesn't have any proof. She is glad that he can't ruin her relationship or reputation, but Kyle doesn't have any intention of doing that either. He tells Miranda that if she feels guilty about her actions and wants to make amends, she should keep Go's Golem Restoration project a secret from everyone, including the Zergus Empire. Miranda is surprised at this demand, but she quickly agrees to it, and Kyle is glad to hear that. However, she is not sure that Go will even succeed in his project. But Kyle tells her that he invested in his project because he is confident about Go's skills. Miranda says that in case Go succeeds, the golems will become a great addition to their country's strength, and she will have to report it eventually. Kyle gets that point too, and he asks her to keep it a secret until Go has managed to create a working prototype, which should be done within the next 3 years, and after that, there will be no need to hide the golems. Miranda is surprised by his statement, and Kyle tells her to smile because she doesn't look good in a frown. She is low-key pissed off by his attitude, but also feels that he is hiding something. She asks Kyle if they have ever met before for him to act so frankly with her, and he tells her that they met in this city for the first time. The next day, Kyle and his friends leave the city, and Theron is a little disappointed that he didn't get to test out his new sword. Kyle tells him that he will get the chance soon, but first, they need to return to the capital and make their report. Meanwhile, Lys and Urza begin discussing their situation, and they are worried that it is much worse than when they were sent to Karen. Mylna breaking off the engagement is just one thing. But the assassination of one of Gargan's most important people is surely going to affect the relationship between the two countries. However, Kyle tells them that the demons are a bigger problem than this. He says that the demons might be planning to make humans fight each other so that they can launch a sneak attack, and the only way to prevent that is to unite all humanoid races. Meanwhile, the news about the assassination and Gargan's preparations reaches Mylna too. She is worried about the consequences, so she sends the female knight commander Kilren and the old minister August on an immediate mission. Soon after that, Lys spots their convoy at some distance from their route, and they immediately join them. Theron, Lys, and Urzer ride one carriage and pass time by playing Uno because they have nothing better to do, while Kyle is invited to ride with Kilren and August. August thanks him for accepting an urgent request to take part in the peace conference between Zergus and Gargan, and Kyle tells her that it is just the right thing to do. He rehearses his lines, saying that the assassination at Gargan Embassy was carried out entirely by demons, and Zergus had no hand in that. Kilren once again thanks him and stresses that the peace of the two countries depends on him. Kyle feels the pressure building up, but August tells him to chill because either they achieve peace or a war breaks out which ends with one country being annihilated. Kilren doesn't like his chill attitude, but August tells her that it is just because she has never gotten such a big responsibility before. He, on the other hand, has been to Gargan many times, and he is confident that he can handle the peace conference with ease. Kilren gets pissed at this and remarks how August climbed up the ranks by licking the former king's boots, and both of them start throwing shade at each other, while Kyle wishes to go back to his friends. Soon after that, they reach the Gargan Empire and head straight for the capital city. Kyle wonders if he can meet one of the princes of Gargan who was his friend and ally in his previous life. Turns out, the prince is already in the city for the peace conference as well. His two brothers are there with him, and they discuss the assassination of their court magician Alzard. While the eldest prince Loki believes that it was the demons who killed Alzard, and then a warrior from the Zergus Empire fought a demon, the middle prince doesn't really agree with him. He believes that the Zergus Empire is lying because no random man can be stronger than their second strongest court magician. However, the third Prince Mazer has a hunch that the hero of the Zergus Empire was the one who killed the hero, and the eldest prince decides to trust his instincts because he is mostly right in cases like this. Later that day, Kyle and his friends attend a party before the peace conference starts, and as Kyle decides to catch a break in the garden, a goth beauty approaches him. However, they can't talk for long because Prince Mazer suddenly arrives there, and the girl takes her leave. Kyle asks Mazer if he has business with him, and the princess immediately gets to business, saying that he wants Kyle to serve him. Kyle tries to refuse him politely, but Mazer tells him that if he doesn't agree to his offer, he will eliminate him right here. Kyle is taken aback by this, but Mazer tells him that he is too capable, and he can't let a man like him be his enemy. That is why, if he refuses to become his ally, he will have to die right now. Kyle is taken aback by his words, but it is not something out of character for the man he once knew and trusted. At the same time, in the Demon Continent, Uliger reaches the Demon Lord's castle and presents her report. She tells the Demon Lord Ruiza that they failed in the mission to claim the Holy Sword Rand, and her partner also lost his life. She is ready to accept any punishment for the failure, but Ruiza keeps staring at her with a poker face, hiding her true plans for the future. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.